get this thing closer. But I couldn't get Josie to come up here and hold it. All right. I've entitled this message this morning, Who Am I? In the book of Luke, in the 9th chapter, beginning with verse 18, says, once when Jesus was praying in a private, and his disciples were with him, he asked them, who do the crowd say I am? They replied, some John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others say one of the prophets of long ago who has come back to life. And now the question, but who do you say that I am? Who do you say I am? Peter answered, the Christ of God. Jesus strictly warned them not to tell this to anyone. And he said, the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the teachers of the law. He must be killed, on the third day be raised again. And he said to them all, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your word. We thank you for the guidance that you give us each and every day. Father, I thank you for the opportunity to be able to be here today and be a part of your family here at Northside. Now guide each of us. Open our hearts, Father, to your word. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. Amen. Jesus had such a beautiful relationship with his disciples. It was such a unique relationship. He was always teaching them, always caring for them, and he loved them in a very special way. There were times when he got upset with them. For those of you who are married here, and do you ever get upset with your spouse? Don't answer that, please. And there were times when he had to take care of them, but he always showed them the right way to live. He always wanted the best for them. In our text, Jesus was in private. He was alone with his disciples close by, and he was in prayer. This scripture paints a wonderful picture for each of us here this morning. It is quiet. There aren't the usual crowds of people around. But Jesus, there's no one but Jesus and his disciples. And Jesus is kind of off by himself praying. And he gets up and walks over to them saying, what are the people saying about me? Who are they saying I am? Do you think Jesus already knew the answer? I'm pretty sure he did. Do you think Jesus was just trying to get them to think? Yes, I do. Jesus used this time to say something very important. Things that are still important for each of us today. Jesus knew that he was headed for the cross in Jerusalem. He knew what was ahead of him. He knew that the cross meant death for him. But this is the road that he chose to take. This was the reason he was here on earth. But was his time on earth all in vain? Had he accomplished what he set out to do? Before he died, he wanted to know if there was anyone who really knew who he was. The right answer would make all the difference in the world. If no one understood, even just a little bit, and all of his teachings would have been for nothing. But if there was even just one little bit of understanding, and realization of who he was. It would mean that he had somehow reached the heart of some of the people. So the first question Jesus had for his followers was to find out what people really thought about him. Who do people say that I am? Evidently, the people realized that he was someone special. They thought he might be John the Baptist or Elijah or one of the old prophets of old who had raised from the dead. But Jesus says, and he's saying this to us here this morning, but what do you say? Who do you think I am? It's not enough to know what other people think about Jesus. We can read a lot of books. Read a lot of books about Jesus, even in history books. We can learn the thoughts of many men concerning him. We might even be able to pass the test on what has been said about him down through the years. But knowing all of this won't make us a Christian, folks. Jesus must be a personal discovery. The Christian faith goes beyond knowing what others believe. It requires us to have a belief of our own. When Jesus asked, but who do you think I am? He wants us to take a stand and to know what we believe and why we believe it. There's a lot of false teachings out there about Jesus. There's a lot of teachings out there that's avoiding going right around Christ. We need to know that. We need to have a personal relationship with him, so that when we come up against these things, we can stand up and be counted. Peter knew, he said, you are the Christ, the Son of God. And I believe that this morning Jesus is asking each and every one of us, who do you say that I am? In 2 Timothy 1:12, Paul says to Timothy, I am not ashamed, because I know whom I have believed, and I'm convinced that he is able to guard what I have entrusted to him for that day. Paul knew, he knew who he trusted, and it was Jesus. Paul did not say, I know what I believe. No. He said, I know whom I believe. Just knowing, I know quite a bit. One of my heroes is Abraham Lincoln. I have to be honest with you. I like to read anything I can get about him. I know of him, but I don't know him. We need to know Christ on a personal level. Christianity does not mean reciting some creed. It means knowing a person. The apostles had to come to the understanding of this. It was a big change for them in apostles. You know that? They'd been raised under the old law. You had to keep the law. Big change. Then they had to change their minds about who the Messiah would be. Remember, they thought, the Jewish people thought that the Messiah would come as a king and rule the world. They would never have thought it would have to be a poor carpenter's son from Nazareth. They had grown up being taught that the Messiah would come as a conquering king who would save them from the Roman government and rule the world. Jesus taught them that the Messiah had come to die on a cross. Far cry from a palace on a hill, isn't it? Jesus had turned the world, literally turned it upside down. They were learning, though. They had discovered who he was, and they believed that with all their hearts. But now they had to learn what that discovery really meant. verse 21 and 22 of our text, Jesus had warned them not to tell anyone that he was the Christ, at least not at this time. But then he said, the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief of priests, and teachers of the law, and he must be killed on the third day, be raised again. Jesus didn't want them going around telling people that he was the Messiah. They didn't understand the implications of that fact. So they certainly couldn't explain it to anyone. It wouldn't be until after his death and resurrection that they would come to know the full extent of who Jesus really was. Jesus told them that he would have to die. Many times Jesus said, I must be in my Father's house. I must preach the gospel. I must go on my way. I must go to the cross. I must suffer and die. He would suffer. He'd be rejected by the Jewish leaders and be killed. He knew this had to happen to fulfill God's plan for our salvation. Jesus knew that he had a destiny to fulfill. I believe that each and every one of us in this room right now, we have a destiny to fulfill. The question is, are we doing it? God's will was his will. He had no other objective but to do on earth what God sent him to do. Now this is a turning point in Jesus' teachings to his disciples. From this point on, he clearly taught them about what was going to happen. What was going to happen to him. What they could expect. I'm not too sure they clearly understood after it all happened. I think we have a lot of people in the United States of America today that can't really understand what happened. After all, who could understand on the third day be raised back to life? Jesus was a man with a mission, and nothing could deter him from that. He wanted it possible to do at least be a little prepared for what was to come. A Christian, like the Lord, is under orders. Jesus talked about this in the next verse in 23 of our text. If anyone would come after me, he must deny. Come after me, Jesus says, he must deny himself. Take up his cross daily and follow me. We're living in such a me world. Entitlement. I'm entitled to be rich. Let me tell you something, folks. If you're a Christian, you are. If you're a Christian, you are rich. Beyond. If we want to follow Jesus, we have to deny ourselves. What does that really mean, deny ourselves? The Living Bible puts it this way: anyone who wants to follow me must put aside his own desires and conveniences and carry his cross with him every day and keep close to me. You know, I'm getting to the age I think, you know, I've got a whole bunch of junk my kids are going to have to get rid of. You know what? I've heard a lot of people say, well, I want to get rid of it now. I don't want my kids to have it. Who cares? I'm going to live in glory land. I'm going to have a palace. I'm not going to have sick, health problems. I'm not going to have pain. Who cares about that junk? Sure, I have a lot of stuff I really like. If you've seen what I drove the last 2 weeks, not today, I drove a little blue pickup, which I put a lot of money into it. But it's fun to drive, and I enjoy it. I have a music room where I have guitars and violins and ukuleles and mandolin, you name it. I enjoy it. That's my sanctuary. That's a place I can go and just block the world out. But I don't care what happens to that after I go on being my Lord. And the Lord bless you this week. He has me by 3 ladies. And I mean that. They mean so much to me. Such encouragement. Josie, don't get you also. No, we laugh a lot, right, ladies? And we will continue to laugh a lot. Why? Because the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Amen.
Deny ourselves is to willingly give up our old selfish desires. Usually we treat ourselves as if self was the most important thing in the world. This is the way the world teaches us. You take care of yourself, let other people, don't worry about them. Daryl, I keep getting these cards from where you work. Come and upgrade. Why would I want to do that? The vehicle I drive now, I like. It's solid. It's dependable. You keep your upgrade. I'm not interested. When I bought that car, they said I'd get 300,000, and I'm going to try my best. Hopefully, I'll go and be with the Lord before that hits, and then I don't care what they do with it. But we treat ourselves as we are the most important things in the world. But if we are to follow Jesus, we must take self off the throne and put Christ in his place.
Amen.
We must deny ourselves, take up our cross. Now this means that we must be prepared to face whatever comes our way in order to follow Jesus Christ. This is something we have to do on a daily basis, not just on Sunday. You see, being a Christian is not a Sunday morning activity. It's a life. It's a life. We must be willing to bear whatever comes our way. You ever have a bad day? You ever have a real rough day? You got out of bed and you knew it was going downhill from there. What do you do about it? Can I make a suggestion to you? Just 4 little words, little letters. P-R-A-Y. Pray. Give it to the Lord. Let him worry about it. Just as Christ bore the weight of the cross on the way to Calvary, we must be willing to endure the worst that comes our way for the sake of being true to Jesus Christ. The cross is not the symbol of beauty. You always see, in fact, I see Brother Rez, he has a beautiful cross. I like that thing, brother. I see a lot of real flashy gold crosses. The cross is a symbol of salvation. I know you're a witness, Ray. I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. But a cross is not a symbol of beauty, of well-being. It stands for pain. It stands for suffering. We all have different crosses to bear. But Jesus asked us to carry our own cross just as he had to carry his. He's willing to pick up his cross. He didn't have to. Do you realize he could have called 10,000 angels and taken him? But he didn't. Why? Because he loves you. Because he loves you. because he's concerned about you, because he wants you to have eternity with him. But Jesus goes on to say, whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for him will save it. We can't hang on to our earthly life. I've used many illustrations about this. As you all of you probably know, I was a pastor here for 21 and a half years. I held a lot of funerals. I never have seen a funeral of a hearse pulling a U-Haul trailer. When I go, I'm going to leave it all behind. All the problems we have right now on this earth, when we get to heaven, will make us smile. It's not important in the light of eternity. Stuff is. What good will it do us to gain everything in the world as to offer if we lose our eternal life? All worldly standards and ideas must change. We must learn to think like Christ thinks. The question is not how much can I get? But the question really should be, how much can I give? Not what is the most profitable thing to do, but what is the right thing to do. Christians must realize that we are given life. It's a gift from God to be given as our sacrifice back to God. Loyalty to Christ and His Word will have its rewards. I have some markings and tattoos on my arm. One of them gives me chills when I read it. It's underneath the Navy anchor, but underneath it says, death before dishonor. If I can feel that way about the United States of America, how should we feel about Jesus Christ in eternity? It has its rewards. And disloyalty also has its rewards too. If we are true to Jesus Christ in this life, He's going to be true to us in eternity. If we follow Him in this world, He will claim us as His own in the next world. But if by our lives we disown Him, even though we may confess Him with our lips, the day will come when He can't do anything except disown us. So many times people have this idea, well, I'm an American, that shows I'm a Christian. Does it? Does it? I've met a lot of wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Christians. And I used to go on mission trips down into Mexico, and I've been down all the way down to the end of it, almost to Guatemala before. Fantastic! I never will forget one. I don't remember what town it was. One little girl was holding a Sunday morning service. This little girl came in. She had the prettiest little pink dress you ever seen in your life. She had no shoes on. You know why? Didn't have any. Man, she was just beaming at that service. If this life is most important to you, you'll do everything you can to protect it. You will not want to do anything that might endanger your safety, your health, or your comfort and security. If everyone felt this way, we would not have missionaries. Do you realize that? Brother Dave, him and his wife, missionaries. My wife and I used to go on a lot of mission trips into Mexico. I always tell her about it. I left part of myself down there. I left part of my heart down there in Mexico. Fantastic. I went to a church one time. I heard a couple people say it was cold in here. Well, I got it. It was. You're right. I went to a church one time where I couldn't remember what they were doing, but they was carrying the pews in. Well, the reason being is this church building didn't have any windows. It didn't have any door. It didn't matter. It had a dirt floor. One of the most uplifting services I think I've ever been in. Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of carpet you have. It doesn't matter if you have the most comfortable pews in the world, or you have chairs, or whatever. It matters what's your heart on. What's your heart saying? What is important to you? I've been so blessed this week. These three ladies have drugged me here, I don't know how many times this week. No, I'm just rattling the cage. I do that frequently, right, brother? Joseph, yeah. I mean, but let me tell you something. It's been a blessing. We have practice on these songs Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I was here Wednesday night. Lord, lead me to Calvary. That's what it's all about. Lead me to Calvary. May I never forget the price that was paid for my life, for your life. Now, I believe if following Jesus is the most important thing to you, you may find yourself in some unsafe, unhealthy, certainly uncomfortable places. But it's only temporary. For 18.5 years, I was a chaplain for the Pueblo Police Department. I'm not even going to begin to tell you stories that I've been in on that. People seeking to satisfy themselves. Adults just beating their little kids to a pulp. One man I remember particularly, I walked into his house with the police department. He was on his knees, leaned in an easy chair where he had shot himself in the head. Lost hope. I'm here to give you hope this morning. The hope is in Jesus Christ. This world cannot offer us anything that can even compare to what Jesus does. Heaven is safe. Heaven is secure. Heaven is comfortable. Let's pray. Father, I thank you. I praise you. The opportunity that I've had to bring this word, the word that you gave to me. Father, touch each of our hearts. Lead us in that path of truly bring you glory and honor. Help get our eyes off this world, off the things that we think should be, and put our eyes and our heart on things that we know you would have it to be. And we thank you and we praise you in Christ's name. Amen. Okay. It feels so good till he's ready. Are you ready? They're not even telling me that. Let's all stand, please. And in your prayer time this week, I really want you to pray for Brother Dave and his wife. I don't know how many of you know that their great grandbaby came through that heart surgery with a blind. I have a picture on my cell phone of the baby's mother holding that child for the first time since that baby had been operated on. I mean, I tell you, man, what a blessing. I keep telling Brother Dave, too, praying for you to get back here, guy. We missed you. So keep Dave and his family in your prayers. They should be back Thursday sometime. So we keep praying for that little baby. You know, I don't know if you're aware of this baby had heart surgery. Yeah, wow. Could have been a good bit. But the baby is doing good. They had to intubate him. If you don't know what that means, it's a tube down her throat to help him breathe. But Brother Dave told me the child's breathing on its own, even though that tube's there, and they finally took it out. Praise God. God is at work at Northside Christian Church. I've talked to a lot of you people, and everyone I talked to said, can you imagine them agreeing with me? I know you ladies can, but no, listen, I think something great is about to happen here at Northside, and I mean that. I think God is on the move. Amen?
Amen.
Okay, for our closing song, we're going to sing 313.
319.
19.
I'm sorry.
319.
319, what did I say?
313.
Oh, that's close. They are so picky.
So big.
All right, let's go.
There's power in the blood.
Yep.